want to thank you all for being here. I am delighted whenever anybody shows up to hear me speak. I'm still there. It's like, you guys here to see me? But this is an exciting moment in our nation's history. As Dr. Angelou said, there's so many reasons to have chills. Within our grasp, we have a chance to build a better community. In our country, we have a chance to work together. We have a chance to work together to build stronger families in this election. There's so much at stake. And some of you have been with us from the very beginning. And for many of you, and hopefully many, many more, this may be your first encounter. You may just be learning about the Obama-Biden campaign, and we welcome you. One of the beautiful things, the many beautiful things that came out of the Democratic National Convention was a clear sense of unity. We are here united because we know the importance that this election means in so many of our lives, and we don't have time for division. Not just within the Democratic Party, but across the United States. We have supporters who are Republicans and independents, and we welcome you to the fold so that we can work together. And just think, we are less than 2 short months away from heading into the voting booths and delivering that real change that we've all been so hungry for. And between now and November the 4th, the leadership of women, many of us, I know we've got some men out there, and we welcome you too. But the leadership of women, like so many of you here, is going to be absolutely critical to the outcome of this election. And thank goodness, because women get it done. And we've seen this from the beginning of this election. We've been out here for more than 19 months, working very hard right alongside of you. And what we've seen that this election has been about the conversations that people have had, particularly women, with one another. There is nothing more powerful than women talking to women and connecting. It's been one conversation at a time that we've been talking about the issues that impact our world. We've been talking about our role that we have to play in those issues. So we need to harness that energy right now. Now is the time, because if there's one thing that I know for certain, and I know you all are with me on this, is that women need an advocate in the White House now more than ever before. See, and as you all know, as women, we juggle so many different roles, and I am no different. I am a wife of this wonderful guy you know. I hope you remember this guy, Barack Obama. I am a sister, a daughter, a friend, a working mother. But many of you know that my most important role is that as a mom. You know, my girls are they are the light of my life, the center of my world. They are the reason why I breathe in and out in the morning. They're the first thing I think about when I wake up, and the last thing I think about when I go to bed. And I know that I am no different from any parent out here. So for me, and I know for all of you, the issues that we talk about that are going to be affected in this campaign, that are going to impact our families, it's not just about politics. These issues are personal, and they have to be for all of us. And we know that the people in Washington have been talking a lot about a whole bunch of issues that we care about. They've been talking about health care and education and the economy for a long time. These conversations have been going on, but it's hard to see where we've made any real progress. See, and when we don't make progress, we all feel the effects. We feel it when we try to fill up our gas tanks. We feel it when we shop for groceries. We feel it when we worry about whether our kids are getting the kind of education that they need in the public school system. We feel it when we figure out how we're going to pay for that college that they just got into. We feel it when we are thinking about what we're going to do now that that plant closed down and the jobs have gone. You know, we feel it when it's time for us to get that mammogram that we know we need, but we put it off because the copays are just too high. Everywhere that Barack and I go in this country, we hear stories like this from people doing everything that's asked of them. Everything. We have this wonderful roundtable discussion. We've been having them all over the country. And every woman on every panel is the face of the challenge of America today. Now, there's a 61-year-old grandmother who couldn't really retire because she didn't have a pension. She had to get a job at Babies R Us at 61 in order to pay for her cost of living. Another woman, engineer, trying to be a wonderful consultant. Husband lost his job. They don't know what they're going to do about health care. They have 2 young kids. Another teacher of the year in Charlotte, victim of, she's contracted multiple sclerosis. She won't be able to leave her job with the state because if she does, she'll have a pre-existing condition that will not allow her to be insured. She is working in our schools on behalf of our children with kids with special needs. These are the stories of women, of families all over the country who is doing everything that we could have asked of them and more, but they still just can't get ahead. And it's time for new solutions because we know what we've been doing just hasn't worked. We know this. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, shouldn't we have policies that reflect our realities? Shouldn't we have policies that express our values, our humanity in one another? And shouldn't we have leaders who get it, who understand that these issues are real? Well, let me tell you something. Barack Obama gets it. He gets it because he's been there. We're not so far away from the truth that we can't recognize it. See, Barack, as you know, was raised by a single mother who he saw struggle to raise 2 kids on her own and still finish her PhD. And as a result, she had to rely on food stamps. He saw that struggle. And Barack and I are both lucky because, see, we got wonderful educations at some of the best schools in the country. But see, our educations come at a cost, like they do for most kids who don't have resources. As when you walk away with so much debt and you're trying to work in careers that give back to the community, you wonder how you're going to pay down your debt. Barack and I are just several years outside of paying down our student loans, and the only reason we're debt-free today is because Barack wrote 2 best-selling books. So we still know what it's like to carry debt. And don't we want a president that understands those realities? And Barack has seen firsthand what it means to people who've been affected when communities are devastated by the loss of jobs. See, before Barack went to law school or did any of that fancy stuff, he worked on the south side of Chicago in communities devastated by the closing of steel plants. And he saw what happens to communities when jobs disappear. Men can't support their family. Schools fall apart. He sees the loss of hope. Barack worked for years in those communities, working to create jobs and build hope. Don't we want a president who brings that kind of perspective to the White House? Those kinds of experiences. See, what we need right now is a president who demands that Washington not just talk about family values, but one that starts creating policies that actually value families. See, that's the kind of president that Barack Obama will be. See, he knows that Americans aren't asking for government to solve all their problems. He knows that's not what this is about. He knows that folks aren't looking for Washington to do more for them than they're ready to do for themselves. As the women in my roundtable say, they just want a Washington that doesn't stand in their way. And in less than 50 days, Americans will have the chance to put the kind of leadership in Washington that we long for. So in this election, we've got this choice to make. And for me, the choice is clear. There's only one candidate in this race who is offering any real change, the kind of change that we need, and that one candidate is Barack Obama. And what I'm asking people to do in this election is to understand where the candidates are on the issues, to make decisions based on their positions on the issues. Because there's only one candidate in this race whose plan for the economy is to build it around the middle class, right? To give tax cuts to 95% of all working Americans, and to reward companies that keep jobs here rather than shipping them overseas. There's only one candidate who's going to be working hard to finally close the pay gap between women's economic achievements. Right now, in this country, the vast majority of women earn 77 cents or so to every dollar that a man earns for the same work. See, and what happens when women are paid less? Who pays the price? Their children, their families. Hundreds of thousands of dollars lost over a lifetime of work because of this pay equity. There's only one candidate who is determined to close that gap once and for all. And there's only one candidate in this race who will have a plan for health care to cover all Americans, to ensure that folks can pay for preventative care and that they're not turned down for treatment because they have a pre-existing condition. There's only one candidate who's talking about that. And there's only one candidate who's talking about a long-term energy plan that looks beyond short-term quick fixes and makes real investments in renewable energy so that we end our dependence on foreign oil and protect our planet for the next generation. There's only one candidate who is talking about making a real investment in our public education system, putting money into early childhood education, recruiting an army of new teachers and paying them, and making sure that every child in this nation has access to a quality education that includes all the bells and whistles, things like art and music and theater and gym and computers. And that once those kids are trained and they're ready to go to college, that none of them ever have to turn their back on their dreams because they can't afford it. Because Barack has a plan for making college more affordable for every American. There's only one candidate who is talking about expanding the Family and Medical Leave Act. Right now in this nation, millions of workers don't have a single paid sick day, which means that when it's time to stay home with a sick child or care for an elderly parent, or maybe go to a parent-teacher conference, or maybe just take a day off, mental health day, that they have to skip it because they can't afford to miss a day of work. They can't afford to sacrifice the pay. Barack is talking about ensuring that millions of more employees have a guaranteed 7 paid sick days a year. Something very simple. There's only one candidate who's talking about that. And there's only one candidate in this race with a clear timeline to bring our troops home from Iraq responsibly. So that we can use those resources to rebuild our military and start investing that $10 billion that we're spending each month on this war right here at home. There is only one candidate, and who is that candidate? Barack Obama. His leadership, his wisdom, his humanity, his empathy, his trust, his honesty are what we need right now. Not later, but right now. But our first challenge is that we have to send him to the White House. We have to get him there. And this is going to be a tight contest. It was never going to be easy, ever. We're in a tough race with a tough opponent, with a lot of money, who wants this just as bad, believes he's just as right on every single issue. So every day and every hour is going to count between now and Election Day. So what do we need you to do? There you go. Just in case you didn't hear that, she said register people to vote. That's step one. And the thing that I want people to understand, particularly at this particular event, is that women, I'm talking to women right now, don't ignore me, men, because you matter, but women are going to make the difference in this election. And that was always the case. That was always the case. And we can't afford to take any vote for granted. So we're going to need you in this time. Because right now, what moves people are the conversations that they have with their peers, the people in their lives. It's those conversations, those one-on-ones, people who have yet to make a decision. You know, we're all excited here, but trust me, there are millions and millions of people in your own state, in your own purview, who don't know what they're going to do. And worse yet, maybe they do, and they're not going to vote for Barack Obama. There is time. So we're going to need you to talk to your friends and your neighbors and your family, everybody in your arena. It does make a difference because some people believe that their vote doesn't count. We've come to that point in time where people are so defeated that they believe that politics doesn't matter. Well, in close elections, as this one will be, every vote counts. And right here in North Carolina, a swing state that matters so much, the votes here are so important. So please eliminate the myth from anybody in your life that it doesn't matter, because it's just not true. Voting is the first real access to power that we have in this nation. So first we have to impress upon the people in their lives, in our lives, that this is real. And then we have to help them make the step to register. And there's so many people who don't know that they need to register before they vote. And what we don't want to have is people showing up at the polls in November, expecting that they're going to be able to walk in and have their votes counted, but only to find out that the voter registration deadline here in the state was October the 10th. And some people are just nervous. They've never done it. There are millions of people who are going to be voting for the first time in their lives. People in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s who have never done this before, which means they may need a hand. They may need a guide. They may need someone to help them get to their polling place. And here in North Carolina, there are so many new voters coming into the state. Your state is expanding like nothing before. So people may need to know that if they're moving into the state, they need to re-register and know where their polling place is. But in order for all that to happen, we're going to need you working, knocking on doors. From this moment on, you leave here. There is work to be done, real work that you can do that will make a difference. And then after we get all these folks registered, all these folks that no one's polling, because many of them have never been recognized, right? Then we have to get people out on November the 4th. Just because somebody registered doesn't mean they're going to show up in November. So then we got to backtrack and go back around and make sure that we help them get where they need to be. And if they go to the wrong polling place or if something's not right, you got to help them get back on track. We need all of you for that. Because what I don't want to have happen on November the 5th, the day after Election Day, is that we're sitting, looking at the TV screen going, man, I thought he was going to win. I mean, I hoped and I prayed, and there was a message that came down. It was right there. I saw it. And it didn't happen. And if we are in that position, then I want to make sure that people are voting for the person that they think will help them move this country forward. The next person in the White House needs to be somebody who understands the issues that affect families across America, that they're going to be dealing seriously with the real challenges that are facing this nation. I can't talk about the other candidate because I don't know him, but I do know my husband. And I know that he's looking very seriously at these issues, and he knows that the next 4 years are going to be hard. We have a lot of work to do, that the easiest part of the job is getting to the White House. But then we have to start changing our culture and shifting our policies and redirecting and reestablishing our place in the world. The work that has to be done is serious. It's going to take somebody serious to get it done, and that man is the man I'm married to. And if we work together over the next 50 days or so, and we renew our efforts, and we bring new people into the fold, and we register folks to vote, we turn out, stay focused on what we have to do every day, it will happen. It will happen, and we will have done it together as a nation, as neighbors, coming together, not be behind fear or what might go wrong, but around possibility. So help us make this happen. Work with us. And then we can look at November 5th and say, look what we've done together. Thank you so much.